Last night, Luang Por was talking about various topics around the theme of dukkha, the origin of dukkha, the anusaya, the underlying tendencies that support the outflows or the asava, and how they can be, or how they are really the source of so much of our dukkha. We're also talking briefly a little bit this morning here at breakfast about the brain and the function of the brain and how it operates. Just thinking about that all. And the process of conceptualization and just thinking in general. And how it's so easy to get fooled into really relying on and depending on and believing in our thinking process, our rational intellectual processes, to the point of not seeing very clearly all of those underlying tendencies and then the way they're expressed in the outflows. It's really hard to sometimes get past that rational process that actually the thinking process is actually a tool in a way of the underlying tendencies of the asavas, but we give it such primacy in our experience that we really believe in its ultimate authority. The thoughts we come up with, the concepts, the views, as Luang Por was talking about last night, the ditthasava, the outflow of views. And we believe in them very strongly. But always, the teachings always point to going back further, going layers deeper than that rational process. Particularly in the West, we've come to rely on that. We've developed it to a very keen extent, and it becomes our world. It's a very powerful tool if used correctly, and it's also a very powerful tool when it's used incorrectly, and it just depends on who's in charge, what's in charge. So it's always useful, I think, when one is going down a thought train, a lot of us do most of the time, but going down a thought train, to step back and say, okay, who's in charge of this particular train here? Who's the conductor? Is it the Buddha or is it Mara? Is it the voice or the potential we have to develop wisdom and clarity and kindness? And is that what's informing our thinking and our thought train, or is it greed, hatred, and delusion? Who's directing the show? And using this rational process as its tool. And slowly just being aware of that, mindfulness itself, just asking ourselves that question, is employing a very skillful tool, the tool of clear comprehension. What is it that's actually happening here? What is the underlying process that's going on that's sending me down this rational process? And asking ourselves, well, is this the voice of wisdom? Is this the voice of clarity? Is this the voice of confusion, irritation, desire? Who's running this particular sequence of events? And then just to reconnect with that which we aspire to, developing those underlying tendencies of the mind that lead to peace and freedom. And we often have to keep also reflecting on, asking ourselves, what's the result of this particular train of thought, this particular way of attending to experience in the world? Is it leading towards peace, stillness, kindness, sensitivity? Is it resulting in harmony in the community? Is it resulting in a sense of contented well-being, or is it leading to agitation, to confusion, to disharmony, to disruption, to solidification of our views, the solidification of self view. So to always use that tool of evaluation, where is this leading? Where is this thought train leading? As a way of also helping us identify what's the underlying tendency that's in charge. So, but it's also sati, mindfulness, being the primary tool that we can use to remind ourselves over and over again to step back and ask ourselves these questions. And then ask ourselves, well, what do we want to do with that? Can we redirect our attention? Can we look clearly and say, I know you, Mara? And in that scene, Mara slinks away and disappears. Mara's main ally is just that confusion or delusion that doesn't even see when he's working in the background. And he relies on that kind of just not knowing this process that's happening as it's happening. He prefers to stay in the background and run the show. So that clear seeing and that identification of who's in charge and how can I redirect and develop the qualities of clarity, clear comprehension, kindness, as a way of letting that be the tendency that then picks up the rational process and uses it in a skillful way. So, just a few words for reflection this morning.